Remember college? Ramen noodles for breakfast, keg stands at the frat house, and that one time you wore a toga to class? Sleep came easy and hangovers were the worst of our worries. We'll be digging through our college days when our knees didn't hurt and we could bend down to tie our own shoes without any help. Then we'll crash land back in reality, where you know your social calendar features more doctor's appointments than happy hours. This will be a hilarious, unflinching look at the journey from dorm room debauchery to derm filler diplomacy. We'll be chatting with friends whose stories are as legendary as they are relatable. We'll laugh, we'll cry, maybe even apply some face cream together. Getting older might come with many inconveniences, but it also comes with the wisdom, wit, and freedom to tell it like it is. This is Hot Flashbacks.
So I think 50 is the new 40.
I've heard that.
How you say it?
I've heard that mostly from 40-year-olds, but
okay, yeah.
like we're not ready to let go yet.
It's us just pumping ourselves up. Yeah. Welcome back to Hot Flashbacks. Thanks for being here. I am here today with, I actually just realized that I had to stutter because I don't remember your name. Natalie. Not because I don't know you, but you have that derby name in my mind. And I have to think about Facebook because that's where I know your real name from. Natalie.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So how do we know each other?
We know each other through roller derby.
Oh, gosh. I know a lot of people through roller derby.
Yeah.
It's kind of a blessing and a curse. Is that's accurate, right?
Yeah. Well, some of them you want to stay friends with, and then the rest, it's like you prefer just never to see them ever again.
Yeah. Also, I think as you get older, you like less people. So I don't know. Sometimes it's like, I'm glad to be connected with so many people, but occasionally because of my age, I'm like, I don't really have to spend time with you.
Yeah.
I do not like you, but you I like.
I'm glad.
It'd be weird if I was like, I don't like you. Thanks for coming.
I'm glad.
So Natalie, tell us about your life. Like, tell us where you live, what you're up to, how old you are, all the interesting things.
Oh, my life. I'm 41.
Woohoo!
So I am officially 1 year into my death.
Yeah. It's all downhill.
I was born and raised here. I've been here for my whole life. Went to school here, went to college here.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't hate Ogden. Yeah. I don't hate Utah. There's a lot of really good qualities about Utah.
Yeah.
I do wish that I've had the opportunity to live in other places, but
experience other things.
Yeah, it's not bad.
There's still time left. I know you just talked about how you're 1 year into your death, but there is time left. You could pack up and start your life somewhere else.
Yeah.
You have a kid?
I do.
How old?
He's 14.
Whew.
He just started his first job, so...
Oh, where does he work?
He's at Lagoon.
Oh, exciting.
At the amusement park. Yep. I dropped him off at the train this morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This means you get to start paying for less things, right? Or
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, they started him out and he's like, he's talking money now. Like, he's like, I'll pay you back when I get my check.
Right.
I'm like, cool.
big guy in town.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I thought that we could chat about being old today because that's what we do here.
Yep.
But mostly because you and I are both 40. I'm 42. You're 41. And I think that there is this, I remember being younger thinking over the hill, right? That when you're 40, you get that birthday card that says you're over the hill and we all joke about how old you are. And now we are those people. Yeah. Do you feel old?
No, I really don't. Like I feel like I hang out with young people all the time too.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel old and I don't know. That's a hard one because there's days where I feel like I've never aged and I'm still in my 20s. And then there's days that I feel old. Yeah. And so it's like hanging out with young people sometimes makes me feel old, but then sometimes hanging out with young people makes me feel young. Does that even make sense?
Yeah. I mean, as you see, I'm trying to think about it right now. I think it does make sense. I think the older you get, the less you realize how old people are as well. Because in thinking about this podcast, I started thinking about who I wanted to chat with. And I started to realize that a lot of my friends are younger than I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll ask them. Oh, they're 28. Okay. They don't know anything about aging yet. It hasn't happened. But I do think hanging out with younger people does kind of keep you a little bit young. So being around younger people with good energy is helpful.
I mean, I still play roller derby.
Yeah.
After all these years. I've been doing that since I was 23.
Holy cow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's a long time.
And I had somebody the other day say, oh, have you been playing derby since you were a junior? Like, were you a junior and you aged up? And I'm like,
oh, they didn't even have juniors.
We didn't have juniors back then.
I know, right?
I was a junior. But
they got junior league roller derby. People start when they're 12, 10, right?
Yeah,
and then
smaller,
when we started, at least when I started, there was no such thing.
Yeah.
They were just kind of starting from scratch.
23.
A lot of people didn't even know how to roller skate. when I started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually knew how to roller skate when I first started. And I remember I went to a tryout, and it was a different league at the time. And I went to a tryout, and they were like, hey, you can skate. You're going to be our jammer. And I'm like, that sounds great. What do I do?
What is it?
So they had me in a position and everything on the first day. And I'm like, oh, man.
So you've been in and out of roller derby during that time.
Yeah.
Why are you back? What does it give you that you need?
I mean, obviously, like, it gives me the physical part, right? Like, I have a stressful job and I come home and I need something like for an outlet, and it motivates me to exercise because I feel like being part of a team, you don't want to let people down. And so you show up and you do the thing, even on your worst day sometimes. So like the physicality draws me in, and I do like some of the people. I mean, don't tell anybody that, but
you don't want to be seen as someone who likes people.
And it's like you said, though, you kind of invite fewer people into your life as you get a little bit older. And I think, I have a select few that I go and I show up for, and I enjoy hanging out with, and I'll hang out with outside of derby.
But I think that friendships as you age become more difficult to come by because you have these friends that you grew up with or you went to college with that I think stick with you. But slowly but surely that starts to dwindle too. And one of the things I appreciate about being involved in any activity is that I get to meet people that I normally may not have met or may not hang around. And I've developed some surprisingly good relationships, but also just an opportunity to socialize. So one of the great things about having, for instance, practice is that I don't feel like I have to socialize because I go to practice. And then that is the socialization that I need for the day. And I've done the thing. I've seen some people. I've had some conversation. I've also worked out. And I find that to be really helpful.
Yeah, I definitely let fewer people into my bubble than I used to. I used to be friends with everybody. I'd go out to all the parties and stuff. And these days I'm just I'm very cautious because I've been around so long. It's like you see people come and go. You don't get super close with people all the time because it could be temporary, and you don't want to open yourself up to every single person that comes into your life. So I am very closed off now. I am guarded, and I have very few close derby friends, but the friends I do have are great.
So you've lived here your whole life. Do you still have a lot of friends from high school or college or, that job you had for 8 years? Or do you find that that's faded over time?
It's faded, but I didn't go the traditional route. I didn't go the traditional route. One of those
versions is British, I think. I don't know which one.
I didn't go the right way, though, because I was a high school dropout. And so I dropped out when I was in my 10th grade year, about 2 weeks in when I was 15. I just had enough of school. And so I dropped out, and then I had to go back in my senior year and basically do all 3 years of high school in 1 year. And so I didn't have a lot of close friends because I ended up going to an alternative high school. Mm-hmm. So everything was just different. So I don't have any high school friends.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get into college, and I did college in my early 20s and didn't make a lot of friends. I mean, I got my generals done, and then I started to go into pre-pharmacy, which is basically like pre-med.
Right.
And it's crazy. And so I got about 2 years in right before I was about ready to get my associates, and I started playing derby, and I quit.
Oh, no.
So everything has been kind of like pieced together. Yeah. So I don't have a lot of long-standing friendships from high school or college or, I did go back to college, so I do have a degree, but it took me until 2017 to get there. So I did college for a couple of years, started Junction City with a close group of friends in 2008. And then I did that for 10 years. And then I quit for a little while, went back to college, got my degree, got my master's, and then came back to derby.
Yeah.
So it's been a
whirlwind of success, though. I mean, because to be able to go back to school, I think, is really hard.
Yeah.
And until you're in that, I don't think people realize how hard it is. I didn't do it. I did the traditional route. I went to college. I went straight to graduate school. I got my master's. I got my first job. I kind of took a traditional route. And when I think about it, I can't imagine going back to school now. I think it would be very challenging to balance what was required of me in my academic life, and the way that I do academics means that I've got to be all in. I'm not super smart, so I have to be super dedicated instead. And I feel like I don't know if I could balance that now, but a lot of people do, and I think it's really impressive. Do you find yourself feeling, okay, you're going to get vulnerable. Okay. I know you said you're guarded. Do you feel like it's lonely to be aging?
Yes, sometimes.
Okay.
Especially with my son getting older. We were best pals for the longest time.
Yeah.
And now that he's getting older, he just doesn't want to hang out as much. He wants to be with his friends. I mean, I'm married, but we don't hang out that much. We don't do a ton of stuff together. We are kind of separate people in a lot of ways. But I kind of embrace the loneliness now. I mean, I used to always have to be doing something or hanging out with somebody but I like my peace and quiet just because days are so hectic with work. And
do you think that comes with confidence as well? I mean, because when I hear you say that is like, when I was 20, if you would have told me that I would feel lonely or enjoy being alone at 40, I would think that you would need a certain amount of self-confidence to be able to say, I used to hang out with people all the time and I used to have all these really good friends, but I don't need as much of that anymore. Is that just like a aging thing or a maturity thing? Self-confidence?
It might be. Yeah, it could be maturity, and it could just be like that safety kind of that you have, like, you know, that you can take care of yourself. And I don't know.
Because I do feel lonely sometimes because it is different. So you also went to college as a commuter student, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's also a different experience. I, again, did the traditional 4-year go away from school. Well, it took me 5, but go away from home, live with my friends, live in a residence hall. And it was never lonely. I mean, I didn't have a second to myself. And at that time, I think that's what I needed. Now I live for moments where I'm alone. And maybe it is like a comfortability that you grow with yourself and being able to say, like, I'm okay to just be with myself. Like, I appreciate and enjoy that time alone. I love company. I love my wife to be around. Sometimes during football season, I'll watch football, as it turns out, and she is not a fan. And sometimes I'll have her watch with me, but it's distracting because she's always playing this stupid game on her phone during the game. It's really annoying. And so she'll go upstairs and I'll be downstairs. And that feels really weird to me. Like, I don't like it. She probably loves it. I've never asked her. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel lonely, but I just like miss her being up there. So I'll like go up and check on her. But that's really enough for me. Like, I don't want to be her to be my everything, but at the same time, like 1 or 2 people, 3 people in my life, that's probably about all I can manage right now. Yeah. And I think it is also having so many other things that take your energy and take your time and commitment, and being a parent is one of those things as well. 14-year-olds are tough. I have one too. Yeah, because they don't want anything to do with you.
No.
Yeah.
And they're assholes too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they can
just be so mean. And you're like, where does that come from? Mm-hmm. And that hurts. I'm like, is my kid going to grow up and just be a drifter? Like, that's what I've wondered. like
in a van down by the river.
Here's the thing. Like, when I was growing up, I had to worry about a lot of adult stuff, like at an early age, because, you know, single parent, low income. I mean, just all those things. And I had to worry about if the rent was going to get paid, and if bills were paid, or if the lights were turned on, things like that. So I had a lot of adult responsibilities. And I told myself when I had my son, he's not going to have to do that stuff. You know, I'm not going to discuss bills with him. I'm not going to discuss those struggles with him. It's inappropriate. You know what I mean? So let him be a kid. And this kid has had everything. And he's such an asshole. I love him and he's cute still. But I'm like, dude, like you, and it's hard because you can't punish your kid for things that you experienced, right? Right. And no matter how many times you try to tell them how good everything is, it's like,
doesn't resonate.
You suck and you don't know anything. And I'm like, dude.
I've been reminded multiple times, even just this week, how I really don't know anything. Apparently. I don't know about what summer school's like. He knows everything about summer school, even though he's never been. I don't know anything about baseball. I don't. Yeah. I've been reminded daily that I know very little. So
checking homework, that's always fun. You know, like you get the notifications that he had. Well, so I got a notification the other day. He had 35 missing assignments. He told me that he was going to be responsible. So I'm usually riding his ass about homework assignments. Like, I log in, I see what's going on in there. And he said, you know, this semester, I want you to leave me alone. I'm going to do it. And I log in because I can't not log in. I just have to check. It's like 3/4 of the way through the last term and he's missing 35 assignments. And I'm like, how does this happen? You know, and I guess he just wasn't showing up. He just, you know, I said, well, what have you been doing during your history class? And he's like, spacing off into outer space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to murder you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, and then he's like, I got the assignments done. And I'm like, no, you don't. And he's like, you just don't know how to look him up or whatever. I'm like, dude, I have a master's in instructional design. Like, I can look in there. I can find out what you did. I can see everything. You have no idea. Yeah.
I think that is the life of a parent now, is these constant conversations about, hey, did you turn into this? And then I'm like, hey, you're failing. Well, no, that's not the right thing. It's in a different thing. It's not in Canvas. It's in this. And I'm like,
it's on paper.
Okay.
I turned it in.
Yeah. Well, the teacher just hasn't graded it yet. And like, well, I did it, but, and like, I submitted it. I said, well, it doesn't say submitted. Well, okay, but I did
Yep.
submit it.
It's every day.
Every day.
And I found a stack of assignments in his closet.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, why are they in your closet? They're
assignment
done.
hoarding.
They're done. They're completely done. He's smart. He gets good grades, but he won't turn his work in.
Just not there.
Yeah.
Did you plan to be a parent? Like, I'm sorry, I'm backtracking, but
not really.
When you were younger, were you like, I want to have kids be a parent? Because I think there's two schools of people here, right? Folks who grow up thinking, I'm going to have a family. I really want to be a mom or a dad. I really want to have kids. There's people who just sort of fall into it. And then there's people who never meant to do it at all.
He was 100% an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you pictured your life at 40, is this what you imagined?
No, not really. I don't know. Like I said, I grew up kind of rough, and I had a lot of struggles growing up. And I really just kind of thought, when I grow up, I'm just going to be working and trying to survive. Like, I never really got my head past that, like, survive and have a roof over your head type mentality, have a car, have those types of things. So being in a place where I'm at right now, where I have a home and a child and a car that's not breaking down, like, yeah, I never could picture any of that.
So it's like more than you imagined in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could never even look past myself being 30, really. There's a lot of trauma and stuff. I mean, vulnerable moment here for a sec, but there's a lot of trauma and stuff, I think, that really prevented me from being able to look forward and be like, yeah, I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
So laughing is also a trauma response. So if you get me cracking up, I'm like,
Your vulnerability is hilarious.
Yeah, there it is.
So that's interesting, because in some ways, maybe I could see how that would be a negative thing. So the ability not to be able to see your life beyond a certain age could also get to a point where maybe you're never able to sort of set goals or have accomplishments, because it doesn't seem like it's ever going to be worth it. It doesn't seem like you're ever going to see that. At the same time, maybe not having those expectations could mean, again, it's a glass half full, half empty situation, right? Could mean that you're sitting here thinking, wow, I never imagined that I could do all this and be here. And so nothing feels as much like a letdown, right? Because I think, if I talk to the kids about this sometimes. They say, oh, I'm going to be rich and I'm like, okay. Well, I don't want to crush your dreams, but it takes a lot of work to be wealthy if you're not born into it. Truly, it's a lot of work to be wealthy.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of luck involved, and there's a lot of privilege involved.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to crush their dreams that they're not going to be YouTube sensations that make a ton of money, right?
Yep.
But sometimes having those expectations can be overwhelming when you get to be 35 or 40 and realize, I am not rich. I am not famous. I do have wrinkles. I am not maybe where I thought I'd be in my career. I also don't remember thinking much about being 40. I remember thinking that would feel old. 40 felt old. I don't feel 40. Do you ever look in the mirror and have those moments where you're like, I look in the mirror every day, right? I get ready for work, do my hair, whatever. But every once in a while, you really look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I'm 42. Like I see it. But most days I don't see it in myself. I don't feel it. I don't notice it. Every once in a while, I'll catch a glimpse of myself or a picture and go, oh, yep, this is why they don't card me anymore. I do look 42. Because in my mind, I look 28. I know I'm not, but I like to think that I look 28.
Yeah, I feel like I'm walking around in a different body sometimes, and then I walk past like a window and I'm like, oh, shit.
It's like imposter syndrome, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you feel able-bodied at 40? And how does that impact like what you decide to do?
Like, I feel like I'm in relatively decent shape. Like, I don't have anything that like really slows me down. My knees are really bad just from all the years of derby. Like, they're bad. They take a little bit of warming up in the morning, getting out of a chair sometimes can be a struggle.
Creaky.
Yeah. I'm kind of creaky. I've broken some stuff. I have some aches and pains, but not nothing that's getting in the way of my daily activities.
I never thought that I'd have aches and pains until I was like 60 or 70. I really didn't think that, but it is like this, you start aging as soon as you like stop being 20, pretty much. I feel like it creeps in on you.
And once you stop being active too, I think that activity is a key to it, right? Like you've got to stay active no matter what it is, even if you're not playing in a stupid sport like roller derby.
Right. I officially am 42 because I play pickleball. Don't come across the table at me. I know.
I might.
I know, don't come across the table.
Fighting words.
But here's the thing about pickleball for me is that you can be really good or not really good at all. And I feel like it's still fun. And anybody can play. So I can convince anyone except for you probably, to come join me. My parents live in one of these old people communities. That sounds terrible. 55 and up places. Yeah. And pickleball is what they're all doing, right? Because you don't have to have a specific body type to play pickleball. Anybody can do it. And it's not super, super physical, but it does get you active and moving.
Yeah.
And so I'm not 55, but I'm into the pickleball because it's just something I can do really easily. It's something that keeps me active, but it's also a game. And I think that's what I need to stay physically active is the fun part.
Yeah.
Right. I can go to the gym and work out and I don't love it. But if I can find something fun, if I can play baseball with Jackson, if I can play pickleball, if I can go on a hike, and that keeps me mentally young, I think is what it feels like. So are you having microphone issues?
No, it's like my throat is making this weird like noise. So
I hope
just remember to edit this part out.
Okay. If your stomach growls really loud.
It just sounds like something is like going off in my throat.
Okay.
No health problems
you're
until
hungover.
now.
Yeah, your digestion is going to come back across the microphone. Tell me about a time when you felt old, like when you had a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I am my parents or I am this age and I forget about it sometimes.
I might need a minute on that one. Let me think.
Okay. I will tell you mine then.
Okay.
So when I was in college, we were living across the street from the library and in this little, it was a trailer. I'm going to be honest. It was a trailer. I don't think at the time we recognized it was a trailer, but it was. And it was in the middle of campus. It was super busy. My best friend, Peeps, and I were getting ready to move to a different apartment. And her dad had said he would come help. And so he was driving up to help. And we had taken off to go get, ice for the cooler or whatever we needed for the day. Because, you can't move without drinks. And I just remember that we pulled up to the house and it's busy, people all over campus. Like I'm 20, I'm still trying to be cool. And there's someone on our front lawn in a gray sweatsuit. And I look at her and I'm like, I think that someone passed out in our front yard. And as we get closer, I can see that the person is old. I expected like some young college student who passed out in our front yard. It had happened before, but no, there's an old man in our front yard and he has his legs in the air. And as you get closer, I realized that my best friend's dad is laid out on the front lawn on his back with his legs way up in the air, wide open in his gray sweatsuit. And I'm like, what in the hell is happening? And so we get out of the car and she's like, Dad, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm stretching. I can't help you move unless I get a good stretch in. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, one, you don't have to stretch to move. Second of all, two, I'm mortified that this man is just like stretching in our front yard in front of all these 20-year-old people, right, in his gray sweatsuit. And the other day we went to like Hobby Lobby or something. Actually, I don't go to Hobby Lobby because I'm against that place. What's the other place where you get the things? Michael's.
Michael's, yeah.
So we went to Michael's and Erin's looking for some things and she comes down an aisle and she's like, what are you doing? And here I am, standing with my legs kind of far apart, just arching my back and stretching in the store, just full out in the aisle, stretching. I'm like, I'm stretching. And she's like, right here. And I'm like, listen, when you get to be my age, Sometimes you just got to stretch, and it can be in public. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I am that person. Like I'm just stretching in public because that's what I need to do. And I'll do all kinds of weird stretches in public and not realize that I'm doing it. You know, I get out of the movie theater chair, stand up, arch my back, bend over, touch my toes. Like that is not something a 20-year-old does.
No.
That's something that a 40-year-old does.
That's true.
Stretch.
Very true.
And every time I stretch in public, it doesn't stop me though. I'm like, I don't care. I can embarrass you. I can embarrass myself. If I need to stand and stretch my calves out a little bit, I'm just going to do that. But it does make me feel like I have arrived at being old.
Yeah.
Because it is something that I would be mortified by if my parents did. And they probably did, you know, just stretch wherever they want. You couldn't get out of the movie theater. I got to need a couple minutes. You know, get out of the chair. I'm going to stretch my arms back and crink my neck and kind of like get worked up to leave. That's old people stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And dog stuff, because dogs always stretch.
Yeah. But they get older faster. So
that's true. So have you had a moment where you thought to yourself like, God, I am this person.
Sometimes, I mean, like if my kids' friends refer to me as like Max's mom, like, does Max's mom say I can go over there or whatever? And then I'm like, yeah, that makes me feel weird. Like to be somebody's mom, even when my kid was a baby, I'm like, yeah, to be called Max's mom. Or when I have to go over to my kid's junior high and check him out for the day, and I have to go in there and there's like all these little teenage eyeballs like looking at me like,
and they smell.
I'm this creepy old person. Mm-hmm. And oh yeah, they smell so bad.
They do smell
so bad.
They don't realize though, you walk in that middle school and the gym is horrid and they have no idea.
And they all wear these like Jinko jeans. Have you seen the Jinko jeans coming back?
Yes.
The huge pants, right?
Yes.
So they're all wearing those. And so then my son will say things to me like, is this what you wore in the 90s?
And you're like, actually, it is.
Like, yeah.
It is what people wore in the 90s.
The 90s.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that conversation comes up a lot. And he's getting into like different types of music. And so he'll come to me and he'll show me like something he's listening to.
Nirvana.
Yeah. And he told me, what was it the other day? He was listening to Alice in Chains. And he's like, I really like this band. And I said, oh, really? You know? And he said, I like, the album's called Jar of Flies, right? And he called it Flies in a Jar. And he said, I've been listening to that album, you know, Flies in a Jar. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, but he's in this whole 90s grunge skater thing right now, which is kind of cool. But then it reminds me of like when I was a teenager and I'd wear bell bottoms and it would like piss my parents off. They're like, why are you doing that? Like,
that's so 70s.
It's so ugly. It's so old. Why would you do that? And I'm like, because bell bottoms are cool. And now my kid is wearing skater clothes and listening to grunge and all this stuff. And so,
yeah, I see teenagers wearing, especially girls, wearing the boxers underneath their pants. Oh. And then sagging their pants down a little bit on purpose.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I didn't know they were doing that.
What? Uh-huh. Yeah.
See? Old.
I know. And it's funny because I have these moments where the things that the kids are wearing, I notice and think, why are you wearing that? You look ridiculous. And then I remember that my parents said that exact same thing to me. You look ridiculous. Yep. Why are you wearing that? So it's just like, it's part of the cycle.
It is.
It's what we're required to do. Yeah, exactly. You're right. And sometimes that can feel good, but wait till you're someone's grandma.
Or wait until you wear skinny jeans and somebody tells you you're wearing mom jeans. God, have you heard that one yet? Yeah. Mom jeans.
I think, you know, fashion at our age is also a whole interesting topic, one that I don't feel qualified to talk about. I think sometimes that I look pretty cool for being 40. Apparently that's not the case. I'm trying my best, but I don't know what you're supposed to wear at 40. I don't know. I mean, I can't wear what the teenagers are wearing. That would be ridiculous. But I'm also not to the point yet where I'm going to wear certain types of sweaters or turtlenecks or polyester pants that have pleats in them, like certain kinds of shoes.
Do old people even wear those anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think they do.
I don't know what I'm supposed to wear.
I think it's just like sweatsuits. And like
tracksuits?
Like a tracksuit.
Like a Jennifer Lopez 1998 velour or early 2000s.
Like a velour
that you'd wear to the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's old
Could look
core
like I'm
now.
Going to the airport every day if I wore that. I didn't wear that even when it was popular though. No. So I feel like I can't do that.
Same.
I don't know what I'm supposed to wear at 40. I don't think they make clothes for 40-year-olds.
No, I think it's very hard to find clothes for 40-year-olds. I think, yeah, like, because it's either the cute teenage stuff or it's
old
tracksuit time.
Yeah. Tracksuit time. I want to get to the point where my skin is thin enough that being hot doesn't exist. When I lived in Portland, I used to walk to school and I'd pass one of the high school tracks, and it would be hot out and there would be old people on the track walking and they'd be in sweatsuits.
Oh, yeah.
And earmuffs and headbands. And I'm thinking, okay, y'all, it's 80. But I'm ready for that because I don't like being hot. I want my skin to be thin enough that when it's 90, I still need a cardigan.
I feel like I'm there. Weird? I'm cold all the time. Yeah, I'm there
all the time.
I mean, I'm wearing a sweater right now, so.
Thin skin, low circulation has its benefits.
Yeah, I'm there.
So what do you think is felt the best about being 40?
I don't know. I think I'm kind of getting to the place where I don't apologize as much as I used to when I was younger. And I have better boundaries than I did when I was younger. And then just being stable and, not trying to fight for my life all the time is great. Like, that's a nice place to be. But
yeah, there is something about financial stability.
Yeah.
At whatever income bracket that is, but sort of that idea that you have a secure job, that you can put food on the table, that you have a roof over your head, that I felt like I never knew what that was going to feel like in my 20s and early 30s.
Big same.
Yeah. And so it does feel good to have that cushion and to know you can take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I think for me, along the same lines, the best thing about being 40 has been like not giving a fuck about what other people think about a lot of things. And I didn't realize how much of that I was holding on to until I started to let go and think, oh, you know what? I really don't care what you think. And it's not in a way, hopefully it's not in a way that's like rude. Like, I don't care about you or I don't care what my friends think. It's not like that. It's more just like, I'm going to kind of do what I want for the most part and do the things that make me happy and know that my friends and family are going to support me and love me anyway. And that stability that you have in your relationships with others where you don't feel so like, are they friends with me? Are they mad at me? Do they still like me? Just having that stability in my life.
Yeah, I feel that.
Being 40 felt really old at a time. And now that I'm here, I don't feel that way. How long do you think you're going to live? How long do you want to live?
I don't know. I'll live as long as I can as I can get around. If I start not being able to move or get out, just take me out. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, I would say late 70s, early 80s. Like, I don't want to be like 150. Like, I don't want to live forever.
Well, I got news. You're probably not going to be 150. So
modern technology.
I read the Guinness Book of World Records.
You never know.
That's true.
We're in an
era.
Tech age, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. And I always say too, like, if something were, and I don't want to throw this out in the universe, but it's like, if something happened to my family, I'd probably just go take myself out. Like, I know that sounds dark, but I can't imagine living my life without my child. Like, that's probably one of the hardest things for me. And I think about that a lot for some weird reason. And I don't know if it's just because I only have one and I can't really replace him. But yeah, like, I would say if anything ever happened to my child, I'd be out of here immediately though.
I think a lot of people say that. I don't know the statistics, but I don't think a lot of people actually do that. I can understand what you're saying. And Alex says the same thing. And I remind her that, like, God, life is really, really hard. And I don't know how people get through that, but they do. And a lot of people do. I think it's fine to think about it that way because that's how it feels now.
I know. It's totally dark to say that. Like,
it's totally dark. I know. I hope for myself that I feel as not 70 when I'm 70 as I do now that I'm 40, because I thought 40 was going to feel old and it's not so bad. When I look at people who are 70 or 80, I can't see it for myself.
Right.
It feels scary.
My mom is 72 and she says that all the time. Like, I don't feel like I'm in my 70s.
Okay, good. So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
But she knows that, like, when you start getting to a certain age and you're projecting out, like, oh yeah, like this car that I'm going to get, right? Like, it'll last me for another 20 years. Like, you're not going to last another 20 years. Like, I hate to say that, but it's like, you're lucky if you have 10, really, when you're in your early 70s. And so she's realizing that, and she's starting to say things like, yeah, I don't know if I'll have that forever, or I don't know how much time I have left, and things like that. And that's dark too. I don't know.
But maybe that does bring more of the sense of freedom that we've been talking about, that I feel like we've achieved in our 40s, that by the time you're 70, you don't have any fucks to give.
No.
And not only that, but like, the time is short.
Yeah.
And maybe that, depending on how you look at it, could really help you to, I'm going to look at it that way, that like, maybe when I'm 70, I'm going to think, this is almost over and I want to make the best of it and enjoy everything that I have left.
Yeah.
I hope that I'm able to be in that place. I want to be one of those people who's ready to go. Like when it's time, that like, I feel I've lived a life worth living and that I'm okay to be done.
So is it an age or is it more of a feeling?
I think it's a vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cause I can't put a number on it, but I can put a feeling on it. Like I'll feel like when it's time to be done, I can be done.
Yeah. And maybe, for me, when I think about that, it's like the best sense of you've accomplished enough, right? Because right now it feels like there's so many things I still want to do and so many things I want to see and so many milestones I want to hit or watch my kids or my pets or my wife accomplish. It's weird to think that at some point that won't feel that way, that you'll feel satisfied.
Yeah.
I hope that that's what happens, that I feel like I've seen the things and like, I don't want to not be around, but I feel okay about whatever happens after this. I didn't want this to be a podcast about death. How did we get here? No, you started it because you said, I'm 41, is 1 year closer to dying.
Aging is dying, right? We're just...
It's true.
Decomposing as we sit here.
That's what I always say. What would you say the best thing is and the worst thing is about being 41?
The best thing, I think we already kind of touched on it. Just having financial stability, having better boundaries, being able to say no, being able to keep your friend groups close, all that. I love that part of it. The worst part of it is just, sitting here in my decomposing body, just waiting for the end. I don't know. I do feel like it's a weird in between because you're not super, super young and you're not elderly yet. It's kind of
I think that 50 is the new over the hill. Because when I was growing up, 40 was over the hill and they'd have cards about it. And you think about, I assume that the idea is it's downhill from here. In other words, you're halfway there, right? You're on the other side of the hill. I feel like 50 is probably more of an accurate over the hill now, because if you think about it as being halfway, a lot of people do live past 80.
Yeah.
So I think 50 is the new 40.
I've heard that.
How you say it?
I've heard that mostly from 40-year-olds, but
okay, yeah.
like we're not ready to let go yet.
It's us just pumping ourselves up. Yeah. Well, is that how you say it? 50 is the new 40?
Sure.
No, I think that's how you say it.
50 is the new 40? Yeah.
Orange is the new black. 50 is the new 40. Well, I want to say that you smell like decomposition also. So.
Do I?
No.
It's patchouli.
I was going to... That sounds actually very accurate.
You either love it or hate it.
Patchouli, you mean? Okay. Well, I don't think I know what that is. When I think of patchouli, I think of incense.
Kind of, yeah. I got it. It's like an orange patchouli. Okay. It's kind of earthy.
Yeah.
Decomposing earth, leaves and worms.
You're making your way. You're just embrace all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just embrace all of it. Well, for me, the biggest thing about being 40 that's been awesome has been not feeling 40. I thought when I hit 40, I'd feel it, and I really don't feel that old. And since my wife is younger, I just pretend also that I'm younger. I think the hardest part has been the physical stuff, that my body feels different. And I know that I can do things, right? It's not that I can still do things. I'm still helping build things at the house. I know you're working on renovating your bathroom. We're still very capable people, but it feels different. It doesn't feel as easy. And I feel the effects of it a lot more than I expect, right? That like, I'll say things like, I'm going to do this today, mow the lawn, and then tomorrow I'm going to need to rest from that activity, right? That like, there's this whole recovery time built in that I never expected.
Yeah.
That I could just go and go and go before. And now I can still go. I feel like I can still go, but I've got to build in the next day pains, or I've got to ice something, or maybe I've got to sit on a heating pad later because I did too many things. And that's kind of been disappointing. I feel like I want to feel a little bit better that way than I do, but I think it's just very natural for your body to get more tired than it used to.
Yeah.
A few years ago, Alex hurt herself in a derby game, and we came back and went to the grocery the next morning, and her ankle was really sore. So she got one of those motorized shopping carts at the grocery store. And I was like, someday this is going to be our life and we won't have to feel bad about it but now that I'm getting closer to that, I don't want that. I'm not ready for that. Be motorizing myself around. So in closing, I need to be positive for a second. Not that you've been entirely negative, but we have talked about death and general decomposition. No, it's okay. So if you were giving advice to someone else about how to live their life at 40 and the way to have perspective on age and aging, what would you tell a 30-year-old about what to expect about being 40?
In this economy, I don't know. I think I would start younger than 30. I mean, I would say it sounds cliche, but like work hard, like work through it, get through the shit that you need to get through because it will get better eventually. I just remember so many times thinking, like I said, like survival is the thing, and having a roof over your head and just being able to make it day to day seemed so unattainable at a younger age. But if you do put work in, you'll get somewhere. You'll get to a better place than where you were. I tell my kid all the time, stay in school. It's really important, and it sounds like such a grandpa thing to say, but it's so true. And it's just like work hard and stick with it. And I mean, I totally sound like a boomer because not everybody has that privilege either to be able to just pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
You're right. Yeah.
And being aware of that and making sure that when I don't know, if I'm giving advice, you got to consider all those things. Sure. It's not easy.
Right.
But from somebody who shouldn't have made it as far as I did, like I would say, stick with it.
I love the idea
work hard,
that it gets better, but
it does get better for most people.
Right. And that's what sort of like kind of stings a little bit, right? Is like, I want to be able to tell everybody that it gets better, but it doesn't always, even if you work really hard. I feel privileged and lucky to be able to say that it gets better for me. I do think there is a comfort also in knowing who you are. And when I look at teenagers, I have to remind myself that they're so lost in figuring out who they are. And it's so nice to just know who you are and who you are not and be unapologetic. I can very much say like, I'm sorry, that's just not the way I roll. And I feel okay about that. And so to know that eventually you will, if you put in the work, I think you will know who you are, that you will come to terms with who you are and who you are not. It is work. It doesn't just happen. I think there is effort that has to go into figuring that out as an adult, who you are versus who you want to be versus who you want to project you are. These are all confusing topics, but I would tell my younger self, someday you'll know who you are and you'll be able to sit with that and feel good about it, because I remember feeling very emotionally lost and confused. And I think for me, a big part of that, I think, in our struggle being a little bit different is, for me, that was being queer. It was very confusing. And I think it led to a lot of not knowing who I am and not being able to sit with myself and who I am and feel good and comfortable in that led to chaos for me in a lot of other ways. I was privileged in having a roof over my head and having a family who was able to support me and encourage me. I also was a hard worker. I'm not going to take away from that, but I did, I came from a family that expected me to go to college. I came from parents that knew that education was important and instilled that in us and were able to support me through that. And I'm very grateful for that. But a lot of my confusion and stress and anxiety came from just not knowing who I am and not being okay with who I am. And I think that development happens differently, certainly for queer people than it does for other people. And so just to know, to be able to tell my old self, like someday you'll be okay with who you are. And that's a good feeling. And I hope that regardless of privilege, everybody gets to experience that feeling of just saying, this is me, this is who I am. And I feel good about it. And I also recognize who I'm not. And I'm okay with that too. Because I think that's brought me a lot of peace.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say like I wanted peace. Sounds
peace, like loneliness, whatever we want to call it.
That's glass half full or half empty, right?
I like how you kind of restated that, though. I think if I could tell my younger self something, I know me, I know what my experiences are. I recognize my privilege. I really don't know what I would tell other people because we're all so different.
So I didn't ask you a very good question the first time, is what you're saying.
No.
Okay. I am new at this. Listen, I didn't write that down.
I can't tell everybody how to live their lives, but
no, I mean, I will work on my question phrasing. Well, I appreciate you being here and being willing to chat and let your guard down a little bit, because I know that, as you mentioned earlier, that's not easy. And sometimes it's easier to do when you're not facing people. So just know that a lot of other people are going to hear this and you'll never have to look at them.
Great.
Does that make you feel good?
Sure.
Okay. Well, Natalie, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming here. And just know that you don't look a day over 40.
Thanks.
This is Hot Flashbacks. We're out.
Want more? We're on all the major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Just search for Hot Flashbacks and subscribe.